I'd like to show you how this nib burns. This is called a rounded skew. A typical skew will have a sharp point at the very end and then a diagonal cut, and then it will have another sharp point. This one only has a sharp point at the very end, and then it has a rounded heel. And it's very knife-like. It cuts into the wood. I would like to show you what techniques it tends to naturally burn best. Hey Pyro, I'm Gianni Lisenby, founder of BurnSavvy.com and your Pyro Professor. And this video series is wood burning tips and their uses, wire nib edition. If you are looking for the solid point edition, that's already over on my YouTube channel. Feel free to hop over there and check out that playlist. And if you want more videos like this one, remember to smash the like button and subscribe button, and then press the bell so you never miss a video. As a reminder, the point of these videos are not to show you what you can do with this nib, because I believe you can do almost any technique with almost any nib if you try hard enough. So I'm intentionally not trying very hard. I want you to see what the nib likes to do naturally. This is a Razertip at a heat level 5, and I've discovered that when you pull straight down, when you have the knife-like feature straight up and down, it cuts in and makes beautiful itty-bitty fine lines. When you turn it upside down, it also does beautiful itty-bitty fine lines. When you turn it sideways, it's actually not great. I wouldn't turn it sideways ever for this, but I think it does a beautiful job on those crisp. When it comes to dots, this really struggled. I came way up high on the very point of that nib, and it still just did dashed lines. When I turned it sideways up on that point and upside down, I kind of got some decent dots, but you'd have to try really hard. For the curves, I found big curves. It does a beautiful job. So this might be really nice for like fur and grasses and things like that. But I wouldn't say that this is fantastic for the finer curves. If you turn it slightly on its side, you can kind of get some decent curves, but it again would take a lot of work. And especially like on that point, it just cuts into the grain so much that it's really hard to get a smooth curve. So I would say this is okay. It's not great for all the curves. Now, when it comes to circles, I found that the itty bitty circle was really hard, which is kind of similar to what we had in the curves, right? It's just hard to make those tiny lines. But the larger circle was better, and I think that with some effort, it can do an okay job making those circles, but it does take some effort. Now with the lettering, I did not like this for lettering. I found it very hard to use, and it's one of those that you would have to work really hard to get a lot of control of the nib for all of these tiny curved lettering like calligraphy and traditional cursive. Those would be really hard with this nib. For bold block lettering, I didn't like it either. It really just doesn't take those curves very nicely. If it were giant, then maybe, but even still, you'd have to fill it in. And I found that it was also really hard to fill in those tiny spaces with this nib. I mean, you can do it. I wouldn't choose this. Shading was another tough one. Going straight up and down, it just wanted to cut into the wood. So I went sideways, and it just wants to cut into the wood. It wants to do that. And so every time that I came across a point of grain, even when I was working at it sideways, it would burn into that little line of grain. And it did the same thing when I did the circles. It was probably worse, actually, when I did that scumbling motion. It just didn't want to. So I would not choose this for shading. In the end, I would say this is fantastic for very thin straight lines. It's lousy for dots. It does okay on large curves and large circles. I wouldn't use it for lettering, and I wouldn't use it for shading. If this was helpful, you should definitely jump into the free 5-day beginner wood burning art challenge going on, where you're going to learn wood burning tips, techniques, and fundamentals that are going to help you get the clean, crisp lines and beautiful burned art that you've been craving. Join us at woodburningartchallenge.com/join to jump into the party. I'll see you there. Later, Pyro.